wearing the green in third, and up goes the pace as the Fiji rider puts the hammer down. How hard is it to get back into the pack after an exchange when you're starting that single gear bike from zero?
Yeah, you got to be a powerful rider to get that 46.18 up to speed. You're going to see him hop on, and that's actually a great example of how to get it up to speed quickly. You found his feet find the pedals, gets it moving. He's going to get up to 25 miles per hour in no time at all.
For the uninitiated, 46.18 refers to first the chain ring, which is that thing that you turn with the pedals on it. 46 teeth on that. 18 is the sprocket, which is on the rear wheel, which determines your gear ratio. So that's about, what, 2.5 to 1 or so, which is a fairly hefty ratio to have to turn. It allows you a lot of speed, but doesn't give you a lot of acceleration ability at the beginning.
And something Dylan and I talked about, when you hit that wall, there's no downshifting. Like we've talked about earlier, there's only one gear, so when the lactic acid starts to build in the legs, you're not finding another gear, you just hit that wall.
Plenty of conversation going on among the front riders here, Dylan. What are they talking about here?
Well, you know, they're trying to like sort things out. These guys don't want to do all the work, but they want to stay at the front. They've established themselves as the lead group. So, you know, it's like, hey, you guys come up to the front, do a little work, we'll do a little work. They've all got the same objective in mind, and that's getting to the last lap.
It's slowing down a little bit, and as Dylan knows all the time, with slow down, accordion effect, that's when you might see a wreck in the corners.
That's right. We see the Cutters coaches saying, hey, let's pick up the speed here. Let's go.
And that's Chris Fargo on the bike for them, a kid that's certainly strong. They won team pursuit. He finished first in individual time trials. By all means, he could be the fastest guy out there today.
According to the very unofficial lap counters in the end zone, Dodds House has a rider that's about 70 yards ahead of this lead pack who is on the lead.
And Dodds House is a team that might not be marked by the big shots like Phi Gamma Delta and Cutters. They seem to have escaped a little bit, and I'm not sure if the pack knows that there's a rider up the road right now.
Well, that must be a communication issue, and it's not like the Tour de France where you rode, Dylan Casey, where you got radio communication. I mean, this is all like old school, huh?
This is old school. I mean, we see the coaches on the side of the track with the big plaques telling their riders what to do. And, you know, I went to one of the team meetings last night, and it turns out that they have their own little secret communications. It's really interesting.
Yeah, some things they might talk about, Dylan, is who's up on the field, where you want to be, how many sets they're going to do in this set, who's coming in next, how many laps in this set, I'm sorry.
So these guys are trailing the Fiji rider. There's the man way out in front in the blue and yellow. He actually has just lapped the man in pink, the Sincere Cycling rider. That's Dodds House. And unofficially, Dodds House is in the lead. They're coming up to an exchange right now. Let's see if it's clean. And the pack is trying to close the gap on this rider.
And that's their strongest rider, Craig Lukens, getting back on the bike for Dodds House. Dodds House, always a strong team. Last won the race in 1998. They're definitely making a move with their strongest guy on the bike, and he's accelerating. The pack, I really can't figure it out, but they just seem to kind of be lollygagging around.
Do you think they just don't know? Because, I mean, let's face it, it's very confusing at times with all the exchanges, all the traffic. It's all you can do just to keep your bike upright. Sometimes somebody might sneak away, and right now he's got about 120 yards on the pack. It's a soccer field. You can tell it's actually exactly 120 yards, just barely longer than the distance of the IU soccer field.
Well, you're right, Jack. What's going on right now is that the Dodds rider has a good gap, and all the coaches and all the riders in the field are kind of like cat and mousing about who's going to take responsibility to chase him down. I mean, we've still got 65 laps to go, so it's pretty early for one rider to get away. But, you know, one of these other riders has the opportunity to maybe try to jump across to the rider off the front, and then we have a two-man breakaway. And it's very possible that with 2 or 3 riders, you can lap this field just like that.
This thing's starting to look like individual pursuit, except it's 1 against 20.
That's right.
It's almost up to half a lap right now, and they have caught on.
This is
Team
exciting.
Major Taylor and Cutters are making a break here, and they're saying, hey, we're not going to get left behind. We've clued into what's going on with Dodds House, and they're trying to track him down.
This is exciting. The top teams in the pack know what's up right now. They're chasing it down with vengeance.
Let's see if these exchanges are clean. Both Cutters and Team Major Taylor going for the exchange. And Dodds House is still out there, a good 100, maybe 110 yards ahead of the lead pack. ACR Cycling has sent a solo rider to try to chase down Lukens of Dodds House. It looks like he's starting to run a little bit thin on the pump.
They're going to come in for an exchange here, Jack. They're going to change riders. Maybe they're trying to get some fresh guys on the front of the pack to try to pull this breakaway back.
Eddie Van Geis is bringing us the color of this event. He's got a very interested spectator.
Well, the inspiration for the movie Breaking Away, the lead character, is actually this gentleman with me, Dave Blaze. In 1962, this Ironman rode 138 laps, leading Phi Kappa Psi fraternity to victory. And Dave, I got to ask you, you've got your stopwatch there. These guys are flying. What's the best lap you've seen?
I've seen a time of around 31.3 today so far. Fastest lap I've seen, but they've all been pretty much down in the mid to low 30s. So they've been flying along so far.
Dave, what about your relationship? Steve Tessich won an Academy Award. You were the inspiration for the main character. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Steve Tessich, who won the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay.
He was a freshman when I was a senior, and he ended up being my fraternity son. And I guess one could say that maybe the payback for me getting him out of all the pledge duties was maybe having a screenplay written in part about me. So I'm kidding about it, of course, but no, we were very close. I guess Steve really admired my eccentricities at the time as well as my writing ability, so it must have given him some inspiration.
You won so many bicycle races. Where's Little 500 compare with those?
Well, it has to rank at the top. There's no race I've ever been in where there was more associated with the victory here, the excitement of the crowd and just all of the buildup that goes to it. I mean, it's something, it's like Christmas, you know, when you ride this race.
Jack, this man is a legend in Indiana. Dave Blaze, back to you.
Thank you, Eddie. And the Alpha Tau Omega rider, Chris Bentz, has reeled in Kevin Moore of Dodds House. So there are two on the lead. That number 28 rider in the yellow and red is from Wright Cycling. He's down a lap. So now,
what's interesting, Jack, is Wright Cycling is the residence hall right next to Dodds House. So these two guys live next to each other. You might see a little bit of collaboration here. If I were those two riders, I'd work together. You see ATO and Dodds House. ATO, the team in blue, they're on the lead lap. They're trying to get all the advantage on the pack that they can.
On the backstretch, we have two riders now.
We're lucky to be joined by Jonathan Vaughters in the booth here, and Jonathan's a legendary name in American cycling. Jonathan, first of all, thank you for joining us and thank you for being a part of this sensational weekend. They are now under yellows. We've had a crash, but explain to me what's going on in the continuing effort to help develop American racing. I understand that a special individual is going to get selected out of the pack here.
I mean, we're developing, the top up and coming young riders around the nation, and I've got them all together on a U23 team. They're competing in the Tour de Georgia right now. At this race, which I feel is a hothouse for possible future champions, and so I'm trying to pick somebody who I think in the next 2 or 3 years could develop into someone capable of doing the Tour de Georgia or going on to the Tour de France.
Playing to the strengths of cycling hotbeds such as this would seem to be a great idea in terms of developing the sport in the United States and adding to it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just incredible. I'm a little bit in awe of this event. I mean, these guys obviously have a lot of talent, and I just don't know how many of them have, have thought about maybe pursuing it as a career.
Dylan, you pursued it as a career after being a college student, proving that you don't have to be in this since you're 10 or 11 years old in order to be a pro.
Yeah, I found a passion for cycling when I was in school, and I had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of big races when I graduated, and that eventually led to a professional career. So it's definitely an opportunity that these guys can think about. And the great thing about the efforts of Jonathan Vaughters and his team is they're creating a a foundation and a program that's really going to help foster that type of development. And these riders will have the opportunity to go on to be professional, just like Jonathan and I were.
Still under yellow here, and the riders must hold their relative position. It's not like NASCAR where you can bunch up the pack and then it's based on your restart. So Dodds House and Alpha Tau Omega still have an advantage, and they're able to make a cardiovascular recovery during this yellow, perhaps stretching out their shift.
That's a big advantage for the guys out front, more so than the pack, that's for sure, because when you're out front, you're at your red line the entire time, so a lot of guys in the pack are already recovered. That guy out front, was not, but now he's going to have a chance to, to really, or the two guys out in front are going to have a chance to really remotivate, regroup, and go.
So, Jonathan, you're going to select somebody that you see as having tremendous potential. What can that individual, besides living out a dream, what can that individual look forward to in terms of training? What would a sample week be like?
With us, well, I mean, right now the sample week down in the Tour de Georgia is about 650 miles with Lance Armstrong hanging on for dear life. So that's what they've got to look forward to if they want to, choose to join up with our program and continue on with this.
Are you looking for someone who displays not only the physical attributes but mental toughness? Because something a lot of American sports fans don't get is that cycling may be the cruelest sport in the world in the way that competitors go at each other and almost destroy each other psychologically.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you have to be a tenacious competitor. I've never met a bike racer that didn't have a razor-sharp edge about him. And, that it's no exception here. I'm sure most of these guys have that edge, but I certainly already like number 10 there. He's a very classy rider, has a lot of attributes that you'd look for in a talented top rider.
And that's from the Cutters team. They have gone green once again. Jonathan Vaughters, a legend in American cycling. Thanks for joining us up here in the booth for HDNet.
Thank you very much for having me.
Alpha Tau Omega on the lead, just a wheel ahead of Dodds House. And the rest of the riders in that pack already have been lapped. So there's a little bit of traffic between these top two teams, Alpha Tau Omega in blue and Dodds House in the yellow and blue, and the teams that want to try to chase them down. We will go to a break and pick up the action, and don't worry about missing anything because we'll keep rolling the tape. This is the Little 500, the legendary race from the IU campus in Bloomington, Indiana. Stay with us on HDNet Sports. One quarter of the way through, and we saw a big move by ACR in black, Dylan.
Yeah, those guys made a great move on the inside pole line, really went to the front and turned the screws, and you can see the damage being done behind him.
And then Alpha Tau Omega, which surged to the lead in the midst of all that, made an exchange that was relatively clean.
Yeah, that was the exchange where they used the same bikes, used two different bikes, and so the rules are that they have to touch each other, and then the other rider can jump in the race.
And so if you were wondering if there was going to be that two-team breakaway that left everybody at the back of the pack, no, there isn't. As Cutters in white make the exchange, Team Major Taylor has the lead with ACR in black second, Sigma Nu in gray third, and Alpha Tau Omega fourth. Alpha Tau Omega wearing the blue, Fiji in orange in fifth, and in sixth, Acacia wearing purple.
I believe that's Jason Fowler on the bike for Cutters. Russell Vander did a very good set, brought in a little gap for him, and you're going to see Jason Fowler get back up to the front, right where the Cutters like to be.
ACR cycling in black coming in for the exchange. Off goes Eric Durheimer, who had a very nice shift, and Ryan Schultz is on the bike. And that is a pretty good exchange because he looks over his shoulder as the leaders come on.
That was great. He actually pulled in front of the field, so they had to slow down.
Do you want to be in front, though? Do you want to be doing that much higher a percentage of the work?
Well, right now they're really not going that fast. So, when he did that exchange, the pack is coming by it at like a relatively slow pace. So the great move is that, when he was done making his exchange, he jumped on the bike. He's back in the front. We see the riders kind of bunched up. So he's in a position to really control the pace here.
Jason, as we see the Acacia rider accelerating, getting ready for an exchange there. Is the exchange thing a little bit of luck, or can you read pack mentality and sense when they're getting slow and get off the bike then?
Oh, absolutely, and the Acacia rider did it excellently. That's Brady Gibney. What you want to do is you want to wait till it slows down a little bit, drift a couple riders back, and then go for the attack. You want to go all out. You're going to hit your red line as you're going in for an exchange. As you see that Acacia rider, again, that's Brady Gibney going in for it. He set his next rider up with a very good gap.
Wow, Gibney with a terrific effort in the final lap, and he tags off. Andrew Svegros is now on the bike, and as the Dodds House rider makes a surge, Svegros is going to be in exactly the same situation you just described, Dylan, looking back at the pack and say, come and get me.
That's right. Now he put himself right back in. Looks like he's going to jump on second wheel. It's exactly what you want to do when you're making exchanges. It looks like Cutters is taking this as an opportunity to do a little breakaway. Or perhaps he's going to come in and do an exchange. You know, Jason, do these guys ever fake it out like, hey, I'm going to do an exchange, but next thing you know, they're half a lap up?
Oh, of course, Dylan, because the best teams are queuing off of each other. You don't want to know. You don't want the other team to know when you're going in for an exchange, because they're going to sit on that wheel. That's David Coughlin. Looks like he's going to have to do a couple more laps because he didn't get a big enough gap.
Well, nobody was out in that pit area more than a step off the wall when Coughlin made his initial surge, and now Coughlin may have mistimed it a bit. It is his first little 500. How much is experience a factor?
Oh, experience is a big factor. That's why you want coaches and a lot of support staff with years and years of experience. You know, they've given David a lot of knowledge, but he's going to have to sit in and recover before he goes in for his exchange.
And again, the Cutters rider is dropping back against the wall. Cutters in white, Acacia in purple, Alpha Tau Omega in blue. The top three as they cross the start-finish line. And once again, the pace slackens a little bit. Can you read the times that it's going to surge and then drop back, Dylan, or is that something that just comes with experience?
You know, I think these guys have got a lot of experience, and the race develops a sort of rhythm. So there'll be parts of the race where you're going to go flat out, and then you're going to slow down a little bit, and that's where experience really comes into play here.
Now it's a Sigma Nu's turn to try to go to the front and pull away. Sigma Nu in the all gray. I remember back in the day when shorts came in every color you could imagine, as long as you could only imagine black. Here comes the exchange. It's a fair tag for Sigma Nu, but giving up a lot of ground. And contrast that to the other exchanges we saw. Major Taylor also just made an exchange, and Acacia has gone to the front by about 20 yards. Acacia wearing the all purple ahead of Alpha Tau Omega in blue, and ACR, which is in black. Let's see the exchange.
Cutter's also come in for an exchange here, but as you can see, the leaders in purple, Acacia, go by first. And the Cutter rider, you see Team Major Taylor's fine. The Cutter rider came in off the back a little bit. He's putting a lot more work on the hands of the next rider, getting on to chase and catch up with the leaders, Acacia.
All right, Acacia goes to the exchange. ACR Cycling is in the lead. Alpha Tau Omega in blue, just behind the black-clad leader, and then Team Major Taylor in green. Acacia is on the fourth spot in the purple, and as they pass traffic,
and ACR Cycling, Jack, that's the former Sigma Phi Epsilon team, and they won the race in, I think it was 1999, led by Jet Tackberry and Steve Kopak. Those guys stick around and coach them today. And they're putting on a strong performance, as you see him chasing down a wheel right now. Oh, there's a little foolery, tomfoolery, bluffing going on, Dylan.
I like that.
Robert Allen putting in the surge, looking toward the pit as if he was going to make an exchange and didn't. Eddie Van Geis has an injury update for us. Eddie.
That's right, Jack. Just a moment ago, a couple of guys went down really hard on the backstretch. They were number 15 from Team 15, John Hoffman, that's Phi Delta Theta. And from Delta Upsilon Team 8, Justin Purdy. Jonathan got up, he ran to the pit, he was fine, but Justin was carted off to the medical tent. I just went in there. They were cleaning up some road rash. He appears to be okay. I don't think he'll be riding anymore today, but no broken bones. Also, I'd like to mention we were very concerned in the women's race yesterday from Team 20 Mescla, a young lady that went down really hard and had to be transported to the hospital. Everyone was very concerned. That was Josefa Marigal of Bloomington, Indiana, a rookie rider. We found out that she did break a collarbone, but everybody's relieved. They thought initially that her injuries were a lot more serious. So some good news about the women's race yesterday. Let's go back up to the booth to Jack and the gang.
Excellent reporting, Eddie. Thank you very much. And I guess a collarbone in that situation, Dylan, is actually some pretty good news, because the medics were all over her.
Yeah, you know, that is good news, because from experience, I can tell you that collarbones heal pretty quickly, and it's pretty much the cost of doing business when you're a bike rider.
Yeah, she can wear it as a badge of courage. There's a horrific looking crash. Here's an exchange as we see Briscoe going in hard.
That's the communication we talked about earlier, Jack. These riders, they can't be right next to each other in a vertical line. They got to separate it, give a couple feet between the two to do exchanges at the same time.
All right, let's set the leaders for you once again as they come to the start-finish line. In orange, that's Fiji. In white, it is Cutters. In green, it is Team Major Taylor. In purple, it is Acacia. In the yellow and blue, it is Dodds House. In all blue, it's Alpha Tau Omega. The pack is tightly bunched right there.
And that's Charlie Kraus on the bike for Phi Gamma Delta. He's an experienced guy. He's smart enough to know that he's going to pull. He's going to blend in with the pack before he goes in for an exchange. He's riding a really good set.
Did you see that a little? Thought we'd have a little communication, but then we almost crashed. It's kind of an unwritten rule in bike racing. That's you don't take your hands off the bars. And we saw that almost led to a crash.
So I think we need to go out and say it. That's the big dog on the front. That's Craig Lukens for Dodds House. He's had an awesome spring here at the track, and he's just really set the precedent today. Dodds House has been attacking time after time again, and now you see him on the front doing tons of work.
Jason, you were one of those riders who took a disproportionate part of the load for your team. It's a race scheduled for 200 laps. Is this the kind of performance we're going to see from Dodds House? Are they hoping that one guy can carry him?
They're hoping that one guy can keep him on that lead lap till the end. Yes, he's going to ride a lot of laps, but he knows he's just going to have to suck it up, do it today, maybe ride in excess of 100 laps out here on this quarter-mile track. He's going to do a lot of work in hopes of keeping his team and keeping that tradition for Dodds House alive.
To the start-finish line once again. ACR rider signaling almost in a smoking gesture as if to say, I got a little bit left in me, or is it time to go? What does that gesture mean?
That's a good question. You also saw the Cutters rider right in the gutter there. That's a little cement gutter used for drainage. You can go in the gutter. The rule is that you can't improve your advantage while you're in the gutter, but of course you can go in there to avoid a wreck or avoid contact.
Of course, he's speaking literally, not figuratively. We try to keep everything above the table here on HDNet.
Jason, we call that gutter ball racing.
You do a little bit of the Pave, a little bit out on the Pave. You're always trying to find the good line.
Oh yeah, we would use anything possible to get to the front.
ACR rider surging to the lead as they cross the start-finish line. ACR in all black. Cutters rider in the white jersey with the black shorts going with him, and the Dodds House rider is staying right with them. This is a high-quality pace line. They are just ripping down the back stretch, and now they're going to let the ACR rider go. He's getting ready for an exchange.
And this is wonderful. You see the best teams on the front. They're chasing that rider down. They don't want him to get too big of a gap. Here comes ACR in exchange. Let's see how it goes. It's a bike-to-bike.
That's Chappie Blackwell off to Ryan Schultz. And Schultz joins the pack about 15 back. Fiji in orange is on the lead with Alpha Tau Omega in blue second, and Dodds House in the yellow and blue third. Cutters in white.
Oh, look at Chappie Blackwell moving up there. That name's been around the Little 500 for a long time. His father and his grandfather had something to do with the race. They were once carried the flag down there on the track and waved the checkered flag. So you see years and years of tradition, the same people, the same names coming back and being a part of it.
Racing under the green flag. This will be 69 laps, and Alpha Tau Omega in blue on the front. This is HDNet Sports live coverage of the Little 500 coming away from the campus of Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, alongside Jason Sonneborn and Dylan Casey with Eddie Van Geist down at the infield and our HDNet crew. I'm Jack Edwards. Glad you could be with us for this one-of-a-kind event in American college sports. It is an intramural event. If you're a Cat 1 or Cat 2 rider, in other words, an elite rider with national or world-class potential or performance, you are ineligible to ride in this great race. So it really is a student event.
It's amazing. Look at how many kids are out here to see this race. This is an awesome turnout for a bike race.
And Dylan, you know, we were out riding around yesterday with some guys. We were out on the town last night. I think you know a little bit. What does it mean to be a bike racer and a Little 500 rider here in Bloomington today?
Yeah, you know, these guys are, and ladies actually, are really the BMOCs on campus for about a month. It's really something great to see.
Alpha Tau Omega getting set for an exchange, currently on the lead. I believe it's Tom Mearsman who's going to make a bike exchange as well as a rider exchange. And Mearsman is off. Hans Arneson is on. That's the same exchange we saw in the very first exchange of the afternoon for Alpha Tau Omega, and they stay on the lead.
And you'll see that, Jack. You'll see the order is set. A lot of times one rider will bring it into the next. Those are the two strongest riders for Alpha Tau Omega. See them exchanging throughout the day as ATO, the team in blue, goes right off the front on a little attack with a fresh rider.
And that is Arneson, and if you recall, he did that once before, starting off his ride with a surge, and he's out there solo.
Hans Arneson, he was 4th in individual time trials, as I've already said, finals of missing out. He's been setting the precedent, setting the bar all spring. He's doing a lot of work right now, but he's picked up a quarter lap on the pack. Dylan, what's it like to be out there on the front when you're time trialing? What are you thinking about? You were an exceptional time trialist, picked up a national championship. What could Hans be thinking right now?
Well, you know, he's probably thinking, what am I going to do to maintain this pace or this distance? And perhaps he wants to maintain a little bit of his advantage, yet at the same time, if another rider like we're seeing can come across, he might hesitate and wait a little bit.
As you see, you called it, Dylan, the Phi Gamma Delta rider who's coming in for an exchange right now. Let's see how the Fiji exchange works out, the team in orange.
Joseph Keck gets on the bike, and that second pack goes right by him, so he's going to have to catch up to get up with them. The Dodds House rider is leading that second pack, but he's still about 50 yards behind the Alpha Tau Omega rider. Let's go back to look at the exchange. This is Fiji in orange.
Fiji's, they qualify well every year, so they're really good at exchanges. They lost a little ground on the ATOs when they did come in for that exchange, but their rider certainly strong. I think that's the other Matt Davis and Charlie Kraus. They're going to move up in the pack.
Alpha Tau Omega in blue on the lead, and the trailing pack of leaders is working its way through some lapped riders, so it's a little bit confusing right now. The man in blue, Alpha Tau Omega, is a lap ahead of all those riders immediately behind him. So they are actually giving ground and will have to yield. The man in orange just going into turn 4 right there is from Fiji. He is on the same lap. He is in second place behind the Alpha Tau Omega rider.
And Dylan, that's the kind of interesting thing about Little 500. Yeah, he's on the front. You see him looking for help. It really means nothing to be dangling out there, 200 meters in the front unless you can get a lap.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, he really wants somebody to come across to him, and he'd rather have 1 or 2 riders come up than the whole field, because then, if the whole pack comes up to him, it's like all his energy was for nothing. But if maybe 1 or 2 riders, like we're seeing, one of the Major Taylor riders, and he keeps looking back saying, hey, come on, you guys.
Well, that's Phi Gamma Delta in orange that he's got there with him. They're on the lead lap, and they're certainly a contender today. So now you have 2 teams with a little bit of an advantage.
It's starting to get sorted out here. Fiji in orange ahead of Alpha Tau Omega in blue. Major Taylor looking for an exchange here. It's going to be a bike exchange. No, and they're saying go around again. Some bad communication from Team Major Taylor, and teammates barking at each other, and it looked as if the Major Taylor rider may have spent it.
Oh, that's really going to hurt him, that miscommunication, because he has essentially let up and given his all-out effort, his red line to get the gap, and now he's hurt and he's drifting back through the pack.
How bad is it to hit that wall and still have 400 meters left?
Oh, I'm sure when he was coming into the pit and they were waving him off, that's the worst thing he wants to see. So not only was he making a huge effort to come in and do an exchange, but then he's got to go back out and do another lap, and he's already hit the limit. I mean, when your legs are full of acid, they just come to a screeching halt. So he's really hurting right now.
All right, the pole sitters making an exchange. They'll make the exchange 100 yards back. Let's see how far back they are when the rider gets up to speed. He's down 110 now. He's down 120 now, but now he's putting the hammer down. Let's see as they cross the end line of the soccer field. He's down 120 yards exactly. That's going to be a hard pull to get back to that lead pack.
He's got it straight away. It looks like it, and you see the cutters on the front. They need to be dropping the hammer, turning the screw right now, trying to get away from Team Major Taylor a little bit. They know that he's only got a couple laps of all-out effort in his legs. He's really moving, though. That's Simeon Commission. That's our fastest man on the track. Let's see if he can catch him.
This is amazing. I mean, he just closed about a half-lap deficit in less than a lap.
He's a sprinter from a track background. You know he can turn it. He's going to do short sets, though, Dylan. Now, this is going to be interesting to see what he does here. Is he smart enough to sit in, and recover before he goes in for an exchange.
He's already dropped his cadence way down. He had it up around $130, and now he's easing through the corner. An incredible effort from Commission.
Yeah, you know, I bet Simeon is just going to hang out back there because the ATO riders and the cutter rider on the front of the pack right now who are trying to like turn the screws a little bit might not necessarily know that he's back on, and he's kind of hiding out.
And that's what they do well. You saw him kind of hide out throughout the race last year, not do a lot of work, but be there at the end. They could be looking for the same kind of finish, the sprint finish this year.
Yeah, that was a great effort on Simeon's part to close that huge deficit down.
Commission in the green jersey wearing number 1.
And what I really like as a bike racer, Dylan, he's smart. He knows his limits. He knows he's going to make up the ground, and then he's going to recover before he goes again.
Yeah, when you're closing a gap like that, it's a lot better to do it quickly than to let it draw out for 5 or 10 laps.
Did you ever see the pack ahead of you, Dylan, just a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You've done the Tour of Flanders. You've done some other Belgian classics. What's one of your favorites?
You know, all of those races were incredible. I just couldn't imagine how a country has so many people that are so into cycling. But, you know, being here at the Little 500, starting to understand why it's possible here, too.
Did you ever see 20,000 people at a bike race in Belgium?
Certainly not these types of people, I'll tell you that for sure.
Well, we're happy to have you. We're working with an elite crew here today. Jack Edwards has been in the business a long time. I'm lucky to be working with both of them.
I'll tell you what, this is as good as it gets. I don't know why I waited 25 years to come to my first.
And that's really what I got a kick out of yesterday is Jack and Dylan and guys that hadn't seen the event yesterday excited about the women's finish. It was something that you thought was worth coming to, worth televising. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's all time. I'll tell you what, you got to go to the website and get on for next year because this is something nobody should pass up. And oh, by the way, it does help working students with scholarship aid. So, as they cross the start-finish line, Dodds House in the yellow and blue in front, Fiji, Phi Gamma Delta in orange, second, Alpha Tau Omega in blue, third, Cutters in white, fourth, ACR in black, fifth, Acacia in purple, sixth. And those are your leaders as they are now more than 80 laps into this race scheduled for 200. And gents, by the way, we spent a good deal of time talking about rain in the beginning of this program. It stopped as soon as we started talking about it.
Yeah, maybe that's a great thing for the riders. I'm sure they were happy about that. And we're checking the Doppler radar, and it's looking like the storm is just going to miss us.
That's meteorologist Dylan Casey. Alpha Tau Omega in blue on the lead, Cutters in white second, Acacia in purple third. The Fiji riders surging to the outside, going from fifth to first. Looks as if this is an exchange coming, and the Fiji fans are up and screaming in support.
They're gonna give him a yell when he comes in. Chris Vargo is really holding his wheel for Cutters, the team in white. They're not letting him get any advantage, and that's Charlie Kraus trying to get away from Phi Gamma Delta.
Swinging wide. Fiji coming in for the exchange. Let's see how much time they give up. And some communication at the front, almost as if to say, let's punish Fiji for this. And he does go from first to last in the lead pack, but he hangs onto the back of the peloton, if you will, and that'll help him a little bit picking his way through. ACR making a surge. Let's go downstairs to Eddie Van Geis.
Yeah, we've got Courtney Bishop here, and he's a very busy man. Courtney, your thoughts on the race? You happy with the development?
Just trying to hang in there. We're just trying to hang in. We need a little time, though.
You adjusted any strategy, any changes?
Not at all. Don't know what's going to happen. Just trying to get lucky.
There you have it, guys. A very intense Courtney Bishop of Major Taylor. We'll be back with you, Jack, in a moment to talk to Jim Kirkham and see what the Cutters' thoughts are.
All right, Briscoe exchanging, ACR exchanging. Some of the leaders coming in and making switches.
Yeah, and Courtney Bishop, the coach of Team Major Taylor, he's certainly got a challenge on his hands. He knows he doesn't have one of the strongest teams in the pack, but he has one of the strongest individual riders. They finished 8th in team pursuit, but Simeon Commission, the winner of missing out, he could be around at the end and he'll win it.
We see the exchanges here. Not too much damage done in the exchanges. Explain, if you can, in a nutshell, what missing out is.
Well, missing out, as Dylan knows, is patterned after a track race in which the last rider around each lap gets pulled out. And so it's kind of like whoever the strongest man is at the end is standing is the winner. Like I said, 6 guys start, slowest guy each lap pulled off the back, and then they sprint at the end. It's Simeon, the rider on Team Major Taylor, he won that event earlier in March.
Yeah, you know, Jason, maybe you can talk about some of the events that lead up to today. The qualification, the team time trials.
Yeah, there's 3 events, Dylan. There's individual time trials, which was won by Chris Fargo on cutters. As I just mentioned, Missing Out, won by Simeon Commission. Team Pursuit's also a very, very good indicator of how strong an overall team is. That was won by cutters as well. Team Pursuit's a 15-lap race against the clock when all 4 riders are out there at the same time.
There are the qualifications. Acacia in purple making an exchange. The rider's got to do a little hustling here, but to his benefit, the pack slows down. What's going on with cutters from the pits? Eddie Van Gijs is there.
This is Coach Kirkham of the Cutters, and Jimmy, bring us up to date. Your thoughts on the race right now. You've been setting the pace a lot, but you've got a shadow, and that shadow's called Major Taylor.
Right, Major Taylor, we're trying to keep the pace up to eliminate the big pack, but we're not getting too much cooperation from other teams. Major Taylor is clearly shadowing us, which we're not really worried about at this point. We're just going to concentrate on keeping it tempo high and worry about Major Taylor towards the end of the race.
Jimmy, your team considered the strongest. You got to be happy, though. A lot of people that have ridden in this race know you separate the men from the boys in the second half of the race, and it says lap 88, we're not even at the halfway point.
That's right, Eddie. There's a long way to go, and we just have to ride in smart position, continue setting tempo, and let the race come to us.
There you have it, a very confident cutter coach. Jack, what do you think? He's very pleased with his team thus far.
All right, it's starting to shake out. But Dylan, now we're seeing lapped teams get caught by this lead pack. What's the dynamic that's going on? Obviously, there's a right of way. The slower riders have to get out of the way, but is it a chance for the leaders to put a little distance between themselves and those who are getting gapped?
Well, you know, what happens is when you're on the lead lap and you catch up to some of these other riders, you all come back together as a larger group, and you know, in some ways that can be great, because if you're trying to do an exchange, you have that many more riders to try to catch back up, because as we've seen, when you're doing an exchange, the rider coming in often has to close the gap. Well, if the field is bigger, it's a lot easier to close that gap. However, at the same time, if you're on one of the lead laps, you don't want these guys that have been lapped to kind of get in your way, the riffraff, so to speak. So there's kind of an unwritten rule that if you've been lapped and you want to ride with the leaders, you got to stay at the back.
The Cutters rider, Chris Fargo, looking over his shoulder and seeing Simeon Commission of Team Major Taylor.
Yeah, so we were just seeing some like code words on Major Taylor's board.
And we saw NASDAQ, so who knows what that can mean. I mean, it's an index as a whole.
And maybe it means nothing. Maybe they're just trying to get inside their opponents' heads.
I think it means an exchange, because Simeon's been out there. He did a lot of work to catch back up with the lead pack. He's getting the bulk laps right now, and I think NASDAQ might be explode when it can happen. Come in for an exchange.
Well, nobody is standing up in that pit area. Cutters in white on the lead. Acacia in purple in second. Fiji in orange in third. Sigma Chi in the gray and white is on the lead lap.
They are on the lead lap. An interesting fact about them, Carl Bourdin, a guy that rode in, I think it was the mid-90s for them. They went to train with him. He's a professional cyclist out in California. Another instance of just former riders passing down that knowledge, passing down the opportunity to get some fitness and get a team up there on the lead lap like Sigma Chi's done today. That's Acacia in purple on the front. They're riding an impressive race. As you see Cutters, Chris Fargo right on their wheel. These top teams, the interesting thing about it, we talk about teams that are a lap down. The top teams, they have the respect. They're going to be the guys on the front. They demand that respect. The other teams aren't going to move up there.
Chris Fargo of Cutters in white on the lead. Brady Gibney of Acacia in purple in second place. The Sigma Chi team in the gray and white is in third.
So you saw the Cutters rider pull off the front and let the ATO guy to the front, but he kind of pointed out like, hey, I want that wheel when you go by. So he's calling out his position, and the nice thing is there's a little bit of ethics going on here. It's kind of an unwritten rule that, you know, let's all work together at this point in the race. We still have over 100 laps to go.
Are there bad guys within the pack? Are there guys who can ask for help and not get it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, these guys have been riding together and racing together for a long time, and people don't forget things. The stuff that happened the year before will definitely have a factor in what happens today.
Jason, Team Major Taylor created some baggage for itself with an eligibility controversy a few years back. Is that dirty laundry still hanging around, or has that all been forgotten?
I think there's a little bit of, from what I've heard, I've spent the week talking to the riders, there's a lot of fire that still goes into this, and that has not been forgotten yet, and I'm sure there's a lot of teams out there, just as anyone, that would like to get an edge up and win the checkered flag over Team Major Taylor today.
As Fiji and Orange makes the exchange, Dodds House surges to the front. Looks as if Dodds House is getting ready for an exchange here. And you see the orange and blue rider from Dodds House making the exchange. It's within the pits just barely. The pack goes on by. Team Major Taylor out in front, and Team Major Taylor getting ready for an exchange.
And here comes Simeon. He's my one-lap wonder. He can sure turn a one-lapper.
Man, that rear wheel wiggled on him. Something fierce coming out of 4. And Team Major Taylor makes the exchange, keeps the rider with the lead pack, and again, it's 46 teeth on the chain ring in front and 18 teeth on the sprocket in back. That's a tough gear ratio to get it up and going in a hurry.
And he sure does well. They need to be patting Simeon on the back down there. He did an awesome job to keep his team with the leaders. As we only have about 5 or 6, 7 teams on the lead lap right now. A couple of those, Phi Gamma Delta and Orange is on the front. You see ACR cycling in black right behind him. And that's Sigma Chi, who's also there, team number 11. They're coming in for an exchange. Let's watch.
John Garman gets off, Jeff Haller gets on, and if Haller can turn the crank quickly enough, he's going to stay on the back of the lead pack, and he does. The Sigma Nu rider in gray is down a lap, so it appears that he's leading, but actually he's just helping the guys who are out in front. The burgundy rider, Briscoe, now surges to the front, but it'll only last a second as Briscoe's about to make an exchange. In black, behind the gray-clad Sigma Nu rider, it's ACR. That's going to be the de facto race leader. Oh, they're going to go by a lap. They're going to let it go. Couldn't get in because he was pinned on the inside.
He was pinned on the inside. You saw a rider that was on the outside a couple laps down, not move out of the way. Really what the Briscoe rider should have done is gone around to the right side on the outside.
And it's starting to rain. We're 97 laps into this race. It'll be official after 4 more. Here's the rider getting pinned to the inside. You've got to be on the outside to make an exchange. And you know what? That Briscoe rider has a pretty big engine, because after giving his all in that previous lap, he's still got something left here, and his heart rate's only doing about $198 right now. That's Jared Hoff handing off, and I believe it's Mike Carey getting on the bike. Cutters runs into traffic. ACR runs into traffic. And believe it or not, Briscoe stays on the lead.
And what a great story Briscoe is. Briscoe's a residence hall here on campus. They don't really have much of a tradition, but I think they have 4 really motivated guys that are out riding for the residence hall today.
Briscoe qualified 16th and finished 16th a year ago. On the lead pack in white, Cutters is in the lead. This race is going to be official in about 5 more minutes. It's starting to sprinkle. The cinders are getting a little bit damp, so as fatigue sets in, add to that the fact that we're now going to have a little bit more wiggly surface. Dodds House rider goes to the front. Looks as if an exchange is coming here for Dodds, wearing the blue and yellow. They got one of the big guys standing by in the pits, so we could see a surge here. It's going to be a bike and rider exchange.
And I'm pretty sure that's Craig Lukens, the big horse, so we're getting back there on the bike. He's going to do a lot of work today, but it's well-deserved.
You can't mount the bike until you've made the tag, so sometimes you give up a little bit of momentum, but he gets back into the pack. And Dodds House, which has been on or near the lead all day long, is going to stay right up there, and you're right, it is Lukens as he comes by. The riders have little colored tags on their helmets. That is their sole individual identification. And look at Lukens' power. Goes through to the inside, and he is on the lead.
What a great story. I talked to Jonathan Vaughters a little bit earlier about what type of rider makes a good little 500 rider. Obviously, a big engine comes into play. You also have to be a pretty big guy, a pretty strong guy in order to push that big gear. You're not climbing any hills out here in the little 500, and it takes a big guy to be able to turn that gear, just as Craig Lukens is doing very well for Dodds House, the team on front.
This is an official race right now, 101 laps down. So even if we were to get black flagged because of suddenly horrible weather, something that is almost unimaginable now because they'll race in some pretty shaky conditions, we have a race for the 2004 Little 500. On the lead right now in gray and white, it is Sigma Chi with Cutters second. That's Sincere Cycling in the pink going by, but they are down at least a lap. Cutters in white is on the lead. The gray rider from the outside, Sigma Nu, also down a lap. Team Major Taylor in white is in second place. So it's Cutters Team Major Taylor, Sigma Chi, Briscoe, and Dodds House as the pack really slows down.
And that's something that Dylan and I talked about earlier. Unlike